Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. This is a Land Rover Discovery. This is a Series 2 Discovery. This is not just any Land Rover Series 2 Discovery. This is my personal Land Rover Discovery. Some of you may have seen it on my visits to Florida whenever I go down to visit my parents, because that's where my parents live. And this is the car that they daily drove for over 15 years while they were in Florida. Before that, they had daily driven this car while it was in the New York area. And this was the same car that brought me to school back in college a long time ago. And there is an attachment that I have with this particular car because it is a one owner car. It's been in the family since day one. My parents ordered this car and had it ordered specifically in this Kent green color. It is a phenomenal car that I've grown an attachment to. It's one of my favorite cars in the world because it's the family car. And I am proud to have it in my collection of cars at this moment in time. So this is a car that I believe is just as good as a Range Rover Classic. And I've owned a Range Rover Classic. I owned a 1995 example with the soft dash. And I feel that this car is just as good as that particular car. And I feel like the Range Rover Classics have taken on a new price point, whereas this doesn't have the excessive price of a Range Rover. When it comes to the similarities between a Land Rover Discovery Series 2 and a P38 Range Rover, some of the similarities that we can identify are the powertrain and the chassis. For me, I don't think there's a big difference between the body-on-frame ladder construction of the P38A and the Discovery Series 2. The fact that they both have a body-on-frame type of construction as opposed to like the modern-day monocoque chassis just shows to you that these two vehicles are very similar, because Land Rover at the time was attempting to do some cost-cutting measures in an effort to minimize cost and increase their profits. It just makes a lot of sense in the sense that if they can use a lot of the common parts between both cars, it was going to keep things simple and consistent for the company in order for them to stay above water. In 1995, the Range Rover Classic went from the hard dash to the soft dash in their interior parts. And they pulled this soft dash from the 1995 model right out of the Discovery parts catalog. The reason that the Range Rover had to switch to the soft dash model was in an attempt to incorporate airbags because of federal safety standards. So rather than redesigning the whole car for only one model year, it just made sense to bring in the airbags from the Discovery into the Range Rover Classic. So if you were a driver in my position and you're sitting in the vehicle, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a Discovery 2 and a Range Rover, especially for a person with an untrained eye. For the enthusiasts like myself or anybody who loves Land Rovers, you could obviously tell the difference, but to someone who's just sitting in this seat, as I am right now, you would not be able to identify some of the key differences between a Discovery Series 2 dashboard and a Range Rover Classic soft dashboard. One thing that we can always see is the use of the Buick 215 derived 1960 Rover V8 power plant. It came straight from GM. It is a pushrod construction engine, very simple. The only thing that changed over time was the engine management systems, but these are fairly simple to work on, and they were thrown into everything that Land Rover was making at the time. So the Discovery, the Range Rover, despite being at different price points where, in the year 2000, a Range Rover was selling for a starting price of around $50,000 and the Discovery Series 2 was selling for about $34,000. The only differences were pretty much the interior and the design. but the leather in these things are very consistent. This is the original upholstery in this car, and it is fantastic. You're getting consistent quality from a Discovery to a Range Rover. And in many cases, if you were in the 1999 to 2001 model years, you got the 4.0 SE motor from a Range Rover. And if you waited a few years to the 2003 and the 2004 models, you got the infamous 4.6. You know, so what is really the difference between a 4.0 and a 4.6?
Check this out. What's the difference between a 4.0 and a 4.6?
Actually, I think the 4.0 is a little bit more consistent and reliable, because I think the 4.6 was just bored out too far and it has problems with overheating, but that's just my honest opinion. I actually think the 4.0 is a better engine, and it's an upgrade from the original Range Rover Classic, if you ask me, because I owned one of those, and maintenance was not easy. It was definitely a labor of love. But the one thing to look out for in these Range Rovers is overheating. But once you get the head gasket issue resolved, these engines are good for a very long time. But besides that, I want to thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you on the next episode. I'll see you guys later. Take care.